All right, folks, welcome back. Rudy Alpha Investments, being filmed on a Saturday. I'm going to try to upload to get this process in live, same day, so you guys need an update. So first things first, I did run all my inventory of the Lord of the Rings collector boxes last night on a Friday night. And as my anxiety and concern was valid and came true, it was kind of a disaster. I ran out in about 4.5 to 5 minutes, and a couple thousand boxes were gone, and I became oversold by about 120 patrons. And now I am working on dealing with those problems and getting everything stabilized. So, and this was based, just so everybody knows, I sold my boxes for $3.99 shipped. And yes, I'm aware the box prices are pushing 500, and obviously that kind of equity and difference from market, when the spread is very large, you tend to get a lot of people who don't even want it will jump in just to try to flip and do things like that because it's free tendies. So I usually try not to get too far apart from market pricing for things like this because it gets very messy very quick and demand surges and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I've been wrong all along so far on Lord of the Rings. I knew it was going to be a decent product and a good summer launch, but I had no idea it was going to be like this record book shattering event of Magic history. I had never predicted this level of success for this product. And of course, the anti-hype man Rudy keeps saying that the prices are too high. The market clearly says I'm full of crap. I'm wrong, and the market continues to push higher. And as of the filming today, I'm looking at TCG Player at like 460 plus tax, so about 5 to 510 out the door for most people in the United States. Yeah, and even with these high prices, I mean, again, it's 2 in the afternoon right now, and TCG Player is just every few minutes has a new order sold on there, and is just selling with no relentless, no cooling, no slowing. It is just completely out of control, and the flow of money is still just annihilating it, even at these high prices. The market doesn't seem to care. I did want to talk about. I didn't get to talk about draft set and commander in the other video, so I want to go back into that today. First, I want to comment about the commander. So I haven't sold the Rudy position of commander yet. That's going to be coming to Sunday night to the patrons. Again, I have to shill because remember, folks, this channel is sponsored by my left nut and my patrons and viewers like you. I don't take any outside sponsorship, so that's why I have to mention it because, well, I don't take any other companies and ads, and I don't do ad reads and all that stuff. So the commander thing is coming Sunday night. At first, I didn't think the Lord of the Rings commander set was going to be this crazy thing, but I start getting vibes from the market, and I've been watching online, and the amount of sell-through of Commander for Lord of the Rings is it's about the same as Warhammer. And Warhammer Commander decks are probably arguably one of the most successful Commander deck pre-constructed sets Wizards has ever released. They've reprinted it probably 5 times at this point, and it just sells out every time. It's unbelievable. So these Lord of the Rings things, I know a lot of people say, well, Rudy, there's certain decks are always better than others, and there's certain reprints that are always better in a certain... Like, I understand all that, but when I look at the commander decks, I look at things a little bit different. I don't like to see a commander set come out, and one card's like $50, and everything else is like 5 cents. I know a lot of people look for that. They want that big reprint hit. They want that cornerstone to hold the value. I look at commander sets kind of backwards. I don't really like that approach. And when I saw, and I was looking through these commander sets online, the single cards in these 4 decks, and the amount of cards between like the $1 and $5 range, that's usually what I look for. I don't care about all the 10-cent, 5-cent cards. I don't care about the one card that's $10 or $20. No, I want to see how many like mid-range normal cards have decent market value. Because again, you don't want a commander deck set to come out and there's $100 card and everything else is 3 cents. Because Wizards is just going to reprint that $100 card, smack it with the hammer over and over until Tarmogoyf becomes $5, or until Snapcaster Mage or a Fetch Land gets annihilated. So I like to see more diversified pool of cards, especially when you have a specialty thing like Warhammer or Lord of the Rings, with the specialty art and the lore, the theme and flavor of the cards. And I was looking at these things, I was like, wow, these decks are loaded with $1 to $5 cards. And personally, I think that's a better approach compared to having it, top heavy, giggity. I understand a lot of you like it when she's top heavy with one thing because it just gives you giggity, but the reality is on a risk reward, non-giggity standpoint, you want a nice diversified card pool. And the demand for these Lord of the Rings Commander things is doing really, really well. So now I'm like, okay, usually when I run Commander deck sets, I let people buy, a patron can buy one set or up to like 8, 16, 32, 24 sets. But I'm getting a little nervous on the same thing with the collector boxes because there's a lot of value in these things. Like, people are talking about these $500 collector boxes. I'm like, you do realize online right now, the Commander deck set of all 4 decks on like TCG Player is like $191, and eBay is like $175. So with taxes and shipping, eBay is what, $195, and TCG Player is what, $210. So for around $200 or $190, let's just say $195, for around $195 to your door, the amount of cards and the amount of decent, fun decks are, the value to cost ratio is really attractive. I know everyone's just like, oh, Rudy, $500 collector boxes, big money, no whammies, we're gambling, we're going all in, Lord of the Rings lottery. I'm like, actually, again, this is why I went in with the Commander sets, because some of these specialty sets that they've been doing lately, especially after Warhammer, I wanted to make sure these specialty Commander decks I was a part of, because the Warhammer thing really showed when they're doing these Universes Beyond, and they're doing Warhammer, or they're doing Lord of the Rings, when they make these pre-constructed decks, they've been making sure the value's there. They've been running the numbers. It's not a coincidence. They are spending time to make sure that the financial value, the card pool, and the lore, the theme, certain card. I mean, they're tweaking them. Unlike the Commander sets from each standard set. Streets of Capenna Commander, Kamigawa Commander, Boulder's Gate Commander, Crimson Vow Commander, Midnight Hunt. Those set specific commanders, or some people call them like theme deck knockoffs, or like Planeswalker deck. Those you want to stay away from. They're very cheap. They're watered down. Don't mess with those. But these specialty ones, a whole different conversation. Because, in my opinion, this year, not only are the Warhammer 40k decks going to be really continuing to do well, even out of print, I think the Lord of the Ring Commander decks are going to be really well long term. In addition to that, we have the upcoming Commander Masters. I think those Commander decks are going to be really hot too. I heard there's even a Sliver Queen deck. Or not Sliver Queen, a Sliver deck. I was like, anytime I hear slivers, I'm like... Anyways, so I wanted to comment, for around $195, these Commander decks, the value, in my opinion, compared to the collector box, it's a lot cheaper. It just seems like a lot more value, a lot less risk. Next, I want to go over to the draft and set. As I told you all, I'm not going to be doing box openings of draft or sets. I'm not going to be offering those products at release. I'm waiting till July, which is a few weeks from now, after release. I want to make sure the market is stable on draft and sets, because those are not going to be nearly as limited as collector boxes type of thing. And I don't want to be in a situation where I sell a ton of draft and set. Did I say sex? Did I say that? Did I say that? Shame on you, Rudy. I don't want to sell a bunch of draft and set boxes to patrons and supporters and viewers like you, and then it just completely collapses. I hate that. It's just everybody gets pissed. It's just a frustrating thing. And the fact we don't have serialized cards, I want to be careful on those, because I don't think they're going to be limited, and I think the prices on those could drop a lot. And it makes me really uneasy, because they don't have certain key components that's hyping everything up, that's really there to support it. It makes me nervous. So that's where I stand on the draft and set. I believe those are going to be readily available for the rest of the year. The Commander, they may do an extra wave or two, but I think the Commander is going to be a little sketchy, because the amount of value in those things. Because whenever I see a situation where a store could say, hey, we got an extra 50 Commander deck sets. Do we sell them online? Well, we can. Well, can we open them and sell singles? And someone's like, well, yeah, we could. There's literally like $100 in singles per deck. So we can get like $300-$400 in value in singles out of the pre-constructed Commander decks. Granted, a lot of those singles are dollar cards, so margins are different. There's still a lot going on there. Like, some of these decks at the beginning were showing expected values of like $150 plus for the Commander deck. And I'm like, so you can get 4 Commander decks for $195 on eBay or TCG Player? And there's $300 to $400 in value of the cards? Even if all those cards drop by 50%, that's still $200 to $300 in value. Like, I don't know. That's just kind of what I've been paying attention to. Like, you don't even have to sell the sealed product. You can just open it, and they're already sorted for you, and just kind of open a bunch, and there's opportunity there. So that's my attitude towards it. I know I'm the only, Debbie Downer of this whole Lord of the Rings collector Black Swan crazy event. But I stand by my opinion, folks. If you are buying Lord of the Rings collector right now online for around 500 to 510 or 520, even 490 shipped with shipping and taxes on Amazon's, eBay, or TCG Player, use a lot of caution, because I'm still skeptical that these Lord of the Rings boxes are going to be able to hold that $500 price point for collector boxes. Now, a lot of people are already saying Lord of the Rings collector boxes are going to go to $600 a box by the time it releases in a week. It's possible. At this point in time, I've been wrong on everything, but even if it happens, just be careful. Because when we have this extreme of a movement, use extreme caution, folks. This thing, remember, when something moves up this quick, just like in Wall Street, when you have a stock or an equity on Wall Street, and it swings instead of just 1 or 2% a day, like some big large cap, S&P 500 or Dow component. If you have a company, it's a small stock or anything, and this thing swings 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100%. Remember, if it jumps 50% in a week, that means it can fall 10, 20, 30, 40, 50% in a week. Remember, the larger the swings in either direction, that opens up the swings in the other direction. You have to remember that. It widens that alligator mouth for variance. And that's what makes me really nervous. That is one of the main reasons I stuck with doing my patrons at the $3.99 shipped, which a lot of people still think I ripped everybody off and terrible thing, got some nasty messages, but and then other patrons said, Rudy, you should just sell them for $4.50, slow the sale down, weed out the bad people, make all the attendees. And I was like, okay, so humor me. If I sold all collector bucks for $4.50, what happens if the $500 price point post-release, somebody finds all the serialized cards, there's a glitch, all these things happen, and what happens if that $500 box goes back to $400 or $390 or $380? Well, if I sell a $390 and it goes back to $370, $80, it's not really that big of a deal. It's a 5-10% swing. That's normal. But if you're selling at $450, $500, and you got a cost basis around $500, and this thing goes back to $390, that's a big deal. And I learned my lesson with a lot of these things, especially with the Monarch boom and bust, some of these other booms and bust. I've been through this so much, it just makes me nervous when prices get euphoric. When we see parabolic moves, it just makes me nervous. So, anyways, point of this video, draft and set so far still look good. Just be careful, because I still think there's a lot of supply coming for draft and set Lord of the Rings. So don't overpay for that. Be real careful, folks. The Commander set, I'll say like I said it before, I think the Commander set's better than the collector box, and that's based on a financial value perspective. For $195 on the open market, not even Rudy shilling patron pricing, another 10, 20, 30 bucks off. Even market price. I think I don't see a problem with $195 getting 4 decks that have decent value financially and enjoyability, and they're well built and it's fun I just think, I believe that's a safer, lower risk approach compared to the collector box at $500 right now. That's my attitude. And again, we'll keep following up, and 2 weeks from now, collector boxes could go to, $699.69. And I could look like an idiot, and everybody could laugh at me for continuing to anti-shill. Hey, I can't predict it. We're going to keep talking about it, then I promise we'll move on. I promise we'll talk about the Pokemon bear market with Scarlet Violet. I promise we'll talk about the new Flesh and Blood and these spoilers and special things coming. We'll talk about the MetaZoo special thing coming next month. Weiss, Airbender, Avatar. We'll talk about that. We're getting to it. It's just this. I've been doing this a long time, folks, and in 8 years, I've never seen anything like this with Lord of the Rings. So it's why it's getting so many videos and attention. I've just never seen anything like this. It just blows my mind what's going on. So like I said, folks, I know the hype train with everybody's full force, the excitement, the dopamine, the placebos. Everybody's just, what's real, what's not, what's fake. I know everyone's crazy about it, but seriously, remember the CCG world, Hasbro and Wizards, things will cool off and go back to normal. In the next 2 weeks from now, it's going to die off big time, and everyone's going to be talking about Commander Masters. So just understand that if you're considering buying a collector box right now for $500 a box. If you buy a good Commander set like Warhammer or Lord of the Rings, you're not really going to have the downside risk. Warhammer Commander decks, even with 5 reprints, haven't even dropped in price. They swing $5-10, but I mean, it doesn't do anything. And I think the Lord of the Rings Commander sets are going to be the same thing. And I think Draft and Set is slightly overpriced, and I think that's going to level. But man, those collector boxes, that's the unknown variable, folks. So that's all I got today. Hope you guys learned something. It's a beautiful time to be alive and be a part of this stuff because, man, this stuff's going to go down in the record books. And I still believe this success on Lord of the Rings and what Hasbro and Wizards is doing is going to be overanalyzed, broken down, thought of, restructured, discussed in boardrooms at Hasbro and Wizards nonstop for the next 3-6 months. And I believe they're going to want to recreate this lightning in a bottle type success for future universes beyond for 2024 and 2025. So I believe we could see things like this again. Well, let me change that. I believe we are going to see situations like this again next year and the year after that. I believe they never expected this level of success, and they're going to want to ride that wave. And that means we're going to have more one-of-ones, more special series, and more crossovers with high impact brands. So that's all I got today, folks. Thanks for the support. Thanks for the views. And I apologize to patrons for a messy sale on those collector boxes and running out in a couple minutes. I thought for sure I had it under control. I mean, the PayPal, when the system couldn't even keep up. I mean, the dollar amount, the orders, the system, the email pay. I mean, I couldn't even. It was just, and I thought removing the option for patrons to buy a master case of 24 boxes. I removed the option to even buy 12 boxes. I bottlenecked the supply where patrons could only get literally a box, 3 or 6. And I thought that alone, having a couple thousand boxes, would bottleneck it so that it would reduce the craze. Oh my God, if I had offered 24 box options, I probably would have fucking sold 10,000 boxes and I'd be crying in the corner right now. Right now I'm in the corner crying, but it's just like a slow tear and I have to hold my left nut, but I'm okay. Thanks for the support, everybody. Have a beautiful day out there.